So with that, let's do a proper intro. I have to read this because I don't know Natalie's bio by heart. I've just read it once and I was like, that's impressive. I want to get it right. So think of Natalie as your red-nosed superhero, helping you discover wines you'll love through her popular online wine and food pairing courses at nataliemclean.com. Both her books, Red, White, and Drunk All Over. I mean, come on, so good, right? So her books, Red, White, and Drunk All Over, and Unquenchable, were selected as one of Amazon's best books of the year. Did you know we had this superstar in Momentum? Well, we do. She's the wine expert on CTV's The Social and the Global Television's Morning Show. Named the world's best drinks writer at the World Food Media Awards, Natalie has also won 4 James Beard Foundation Journalism Awards. That's a very big deal. She studied the Romantic poets at Oxford University and graduated with honors from Western's MBA program. She is such a smarty pants. Natalie's goal on her podcast, Unreserved Wine Talk, is to invite both the novices and the knowledgeable to discover that it's as much fun to learn about wine as it is to drink it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to jump off. Oh, I'm not going to. We're going to go side by side through the whole thing? Yeah. Wow. Okay. So let's go ahead and bring her on. Do I need to do that?
Yeah, so panelists, she's raised her hand.
Okay, hold on. Let me find you. Panelist, here we go. I don't see her as a panelist yet.
Attendee, raised hand.
Attendee, raised hand. Here we go. Allowed to talk. And let's say more. Promote. Does she need to be a panelist?
Yes. And then unmute.
And then unmute, which I did. Okay, and let me do side by side. No, hold on. Oh, there we go. Wait, let me make sure you're unmuted. Hold on. Talk. Okay. Let me see if I can hear you.
Okay, I'm talking.
No, I cannot. Hold on. So
okay,
that I can do it.
I'll keep talking.
So she's actually asked to unmute. So you have to do it yourself now.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Hello, hello.
Can everyone else hear her and maybe just not me?
Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah,
hello.
I can hear her because my speakers are on.
Okay.
You guys tell me if you can hear Natalie.
Test, test, test. Talk, talk, talk. Yes, we can, they said.
I can't.
Let's get you headphones.
Okay.
Hold on. I bet I know what it is. Cool. Yep, I know what it is. Hold on.
All right.
Oh, I hear you. Woo!
All right, yay, woo!
Like I'm here. Okay, hold on. I'm getting my stuff. Okay, you start us out and we'll get going.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to be here, Amy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I've been drinking all afternoon. No, I've been just warming up. I have promised this is going to be a snob-free wine tasting, no wine shaming today. So whether you have wine open or not right now, I welcome everybody to join in and to comment and welcome questions and all the rest of it. So, oh, look at you, Amy.
Look at me.
What do you have there? Fancy.
I know. So fancy. I'm ready.
You know a good cheese board, my dear. So you taught me well. You taught us all well, Amy. In true DCA style, I do have slides. So your permission, if I could share those.
Please.
We will jump in. I will share my screen. Let me find them. And here we go. And let me maximize my screen.
Great.
Go to read mode. Let's see. There we go. All right. So here we go. It's a step-by-step guide. Imagine, Amy.
Imagine
anyway, yeah, I don't know. Where'd that come from? Anyway, here we go. The wine and cheese version. So everyone, if you are here with us now, go ahead, open your wines. Feel free to take a sip of your cider, tea, water, whatever, nibble on those cheeses. That's what we're going to start to do, and jump into the comments anytime. So what we have, Amy, I know you love Veuve Clicquot. You have another one with you today, and that's just fine. So I have the personal size and the, please let's get this party started.
I'm coming to your house.
I'm going to break this computer here, table. All right. So we also have a Chardonnay or a white wine, a red wine, and a cider, non-alcoholic. But you don't have to have any of the wines that we have, or just a few. Because my number one rule, Amy, is pair the the wine to the diner, not the dinner. And so what brings to mind this one, little cartoon that I just love. He's talking to the cannibal as he's slowly cooking and says, "That's a tough question. I suppose I should be served with a dry red." So pair the wine to the diner, not the dinner. Anyway, all to say, drink what you like.
Okay.
Our cheeses, we are going with Amy's favorites, which is goat cheese or chèvre, a Havarti, cheddar, and a brie. All right, overview. Of course, we have to have like a little agenda here, but this is not meant to be formal, so I'll just keep going. But to give you a sense of where we're going, follow Amy's lead. She's into the cheese. All right, so wine and cheese were made for each other. We're going to bust wide open 3 wine and cheese myths, tips for pairing wine and cheese, and we'll give you some holiday entertaining tips for you to get ready.
Fun.
And this would not be a wine and cheese tasting DCA style if I did not say, stay with us. Mute your smartphone. Multitasking is a myth. Come back to us. The only multitasking that you're going to do with us is between your wine and your cheese and with us. Make this your time to focus on wine. There we go. I love this quote. Cheese is milk's leap toward immortality. And I would say that grapes are, or wine is grapes' leap toward immortality. And that's because they go so well together. So just a real quick, why do they work? Why are they classic? They're both, if you think about how much they have in common, they're both fresh liquids, grape juice, milk. They're both preserved and fermented. They use a natural agent to get to where they're going. And they have controlled artisanal decomposition, which doesn't sound great, but it actually results in a lot of wonderful, complex range of flavors in both. So let's start with cheese myth number 1 to bust open. There's no one wine that goes with cheese because it just coats your mouth. Cheese coats your mouth, so why even bother? Don't even bother with wine. Well, if you're a determined hedonist, as we are, wine does have enough acidity to cut through the creaminess of cheese. So let's start with our sparkling wine and the fresh cheese. So the fresh cheeses are your goat's cheese, mozzarella, and so on. But let's just take a look at this. And Amy, this is one thing I do in my webinars, the quick win you taught us to do up front, right?
Yeah.
The thing that they can get that do early on. And so this is what I'd like everyone to do with me. So take a bite of whatever cheese, or sorry, take a sip of your wine first, whatever wine you have, whether it's sparkling or not. Okay, so we're going to take a sip of the wine first. Then we're going to take a bite of whatever cheese. If you have goat's cheese, do that one first. Notice how it tastes and all the rest of it. And then go back to your wine. Take another sip. We're being very thorough here. And go back to the wine and see what happens. Does it taste different? And Amy, I'd love your reaction too for this one.
I feel like it did. I think it was tasted really good.
Really good. And what's happening, and it's pretty amazing once you start doing this in some sort of order and just paying attention, is that the cheese is softening the wine, making it feel rounder, fruitier, that sort of thing. So on its own, the wine tastes great. I mean, what's not to love with bubbly? But once you get cheese in there, you've got lots of fat and that sort of thing. You go back to the wine and the acidity of that wine is getting rounder and fruitier. And that's the magic of all wine and food pairing, but especially wine and cheese. All right. So that's the quick win. Okay, cool.
That is a quick win.
Yeah. So people start to realize that, oh, wow, there's something really going on here. Wine and food pairing isn't just something that, whatever people just talk about. All right. So when I think about fresh cheeses, like your goat cheese, I always think about zesty white wines, like your sparkling wine, a Sauvignon Blanc, a Riesling. They cut kind of like a knife through the cheese, sort of the chalkiness and the texture of the cheese. I think they're so good. Pinot Grigio is another one. And even our cider. So for those of you who have a non-alcoholic cider, this is another great one. I think that will pair beautifully with the goat's cheese. All right. So again, this is just what we do. Back to the wine and how did it change? There's your quick win. Okay. So what's happening is that that acidity is cutting through the cheese. They both taste rounder and softer. And there we go. All right. Let's go to myth number 2 now. All wines go with all cheeses. It's kind of the opposite of no wines go with cheeses. Well, you can just drink what you like. And really, you should drink what you like. But there are some guidelines that will make that experience even better. So try the goat cheese. I'm going to do a little suffering for your palate right now. I want you to try, if you have a red wine, try the red wine first.
Did I choose the wrong glass? Is this right? Okay, good.
That's a good glass, Amy.
Okay, good. I thought I chose the wrong size.
It's all good. It's all good. So if you go with the red wine, now you go with the goat cheese, and notice what happens to the goat cheese. It's a light, fresh cheese. So you have the red wine. Go over to the goat cheese. Right back to the red wine.
Oh, so good. Best afternoon ever.
Okay. I'm glad you're liking that. Sometimes red wine will clash miserably with cheeses if you get an even more delicate, this goat cheese that I have, and probably the one you have, is pretty flavorful and can handle that red wine. Yeah. But often if you get a very soft, really delicate cheese, you're going to get a clash between the tannins in the red wine, which is kind of like, think about if you're eating walnuts and that furry mouth feeling you get from eating walnuts. And that's tannin. And so when tannin sort of goes up against dairy or the butter fat in some delicate cheeses, you'll get like an unhappy mouth.
What's an example of a delicate cheese?
So think about like mozzarella. So cheese and wine are on a spectrum from delicate. So mozzarella, what would be really mild? Like feta is kind of salty, but it's still very mild. And then you go up to goat cheese and our Havarti, and then on to brie, and then cheddar and blue cheese and the really stinky cheeses, right? So they go up like that. So so that's kind of why they can clash sometimes with that.
Good to know.
Yeah, good.
Sometimes
cool.
It tastes a little bit bitter. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It can, depending on what type of cheese that you've got. So let's go with the semi-firm. You also love Havarti, right, Amy?
Yeah, I do.
I think you've got a piece of that. Okay. So other examples of semi-firm cheeses are Gouda, Gruyere, Manchego, and Provolone. So let's now try that same experiment, but now let's try it with the Chardonnay or whatever white wine you have. Okay. So I have a big glass. I will beat myself out here, but I call it my big ass glass, just in case there's any children without earmuffs. But try this. This is a really nice, big, buttery, oaky Chardonnay is what I have. Try that, then go to the Havarti, then back to the wine again, and see what you find on that.
I have a Chardonnay as well.
Oh, good. And oops, I just clicked there. I was trying to see comments, but I don't know if I can multitask. It's a myth, right, Amy?
It really is.
I can't do this. Well, I'll go with questions at the end because I'm seeing lots of comments come in. But so what do you think? If you've tried the Chardonnay, the big buttery Chardonnay, then you go with the Havarti, which is a stronger cheese than the goat's cheese.
It was a lot of flavor. That was a lot of flavor in my mouth.
It was. Yeah, absolutely. It's nice. It's almost buttery, that Havarti.
It is.
And I find it's nice with the buttery Chardonnay. Again, it's going to depend where your Chardonnay comes from. Is it oak aged? Is it buttery? Or is it a light? Because some Chardonnays don't have any oak at all. But anyway, not to get technical.
I wish I knew everything you knew about wine. I wish I can't imagine what's in your head about everything you know. So cool. This is so cool.
Oh, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's what happens with big flavorful wines, whether it's a big Chardonnay or the big red that you have, is that the more mature they get, the more flavor they have, the more they can take on those stronger cheeses, like Havarti, which is starting to go up on that flavor spectrum, or cheddar.
Yeah.
So go for your cheddar, because I think it'll even go with a full-bodied Chardonnay, possibly, or definitely with your red wine. So again, it's just mixing and matching the cheeses. That's what's fun about a cheese board. And if you have a couple of glasses of wine between you and your partner, or on your own, or whatever, is that you can go back and forth and find what you love in terms of the pairings. So the other thing that happens with cheese as it gets older is it becomes more balanced in flavor, more salt, more acidity, that all comes together. And we start to have cheeses that almost taste like mature wine. So they get the nuttiness and the coffee flavors and the espresso. And then the wine and the cheese start to really marry at that point in maturity and complexity.
So good.
So cool. Okay. So the last myth is that there's one perfect wine for every cheese. And of course, there's an incredible range of textures, flavors, weights, and styles of all of them. And that can sound overwhelming, but it's actually the excitement of wine and food. And it's probably the reason we don't have orange juice critics, right? It's pretty uniform when it comes to orange juice, but the world of wine and cheese is wide open. And it's all about experimenting and finding what you love, what personally pleases your palate. So do you have a favorite pairing of what we've tried so far, Amy, in terms of any of the cheeses or the wines that have worked most or best for you that you've loved?
I loved the goat cheese with the Chardonnay. I thought that was
nice. Very nice. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good match. I love the Havarti with the Chardonnay, was my favorite. So cool.
Fantastic.
All right. So soft, creamy cheeses. This is the brie. And I've saved this one till last because it's very mouth coating. It's rich. There's a lot of butter fat going on there. Camembert is another one example of a creamy cheese. Cream cheese, of course. Délice de Bourgogne. So when it comes to these, again, you're looking for that silver knife of acidity to cut through with a sparkling wine. But you can also go with a rich, buttery, round Chardonnay. And I'll tell you why both work in this case. You get the acidity of the sparkling wine, which is great. Effervescence is like these tiny little scrubbing brushes all over your tongue going, oh, let's get ready for the next bite. And that's why when you mix wine and food, you have more pleasure, I think, because it's just like eating a full chocolate cake versus, which I could do actually, but a full chocolate cake versus having a piece of chocolate cake and some ice cream and maybe a biscotti on the side. You don't satiate out so quickly, right? But anyway, so
I like your style, girl.
Yeah, okay. bring on the chocolate cake and the whole biscotti. So that swarm of bubbles, the effervescence, is literally a palate cleanser. That is what we're talking about. So the cheese is there, it's coating, it's gooey, it's oozing into every little crevice in your mouth. And then you bring on the brushes, the scrubs, the little palate cleanser of the bubbly. That's why it works. And that's why bubbly works with a lot of rich, fat, salty food. Like my favorite is potato chips or popcorn and bubbly. Champagne specifically. Yeah, I call it the high-low shabby chic, sort of rhinestones on jeans. So it's like, yes, you can dress up any occasion. Just bring on some.
I mean, champagne and popcorn, you can't go wrong.
You can't. That's why it works so well, though. That rich butteriness of the popcorn or the fat and salt of the chips. It's just a natural, it just goes whoosh with the bubbly. It just washes it away and makes the next chip or piece of popcorn taste even better. So you never get tired of it. And you go through an entire bowl and then you're back to looking for that chocolate cake. So that's the two strategies when it comes to pairing wine and food, just at a very high level. You can go with contrast or complement. When we put the brie with sparkling, we got rich and oozy with acidity, sparkling, or we've got rich and oozy the brie with rich and oozy Chardonnay, the same complement. You can go either way, depending on what, again, pleases your taste buds. Yeah. All right. So what happens though, one thing you might want to try is the red wine. And again, it's going to depend on what type of red wine you have. So red wine, go to the brie, then back to the red wine. Often what's going to happen there is that the wine is going to make the cheese, or sorry, I should say the reverse. The cheese is going to make the wine taste bitter. It's going to, the dairy, the really concentrated butter fat is going to make the red wine taste tannic and bitter. So,
okay, I'm going to try that. So you're
yes,
that could happen with the brie. Wait, the brie.
brie. Yeah, the brie is your richest cheese on this plate. So try the red wine on its own, then go to the brie, then come back to the red wine. And just see what happened to that red wine. It might be okay. Maybe you have a luscious, smooth red wine. So, you know, the rules aren't always the same. But
nope, you're totally right. You're totally right.
It's not that great. It's not as great as maybe the sparkling or the Chardonnay would be with that brie. It's not a match made for each other.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
Yeah.
I've got to point out what Donna says real fast.
Okay, yeah.
So the tough part for me is to actually sip my wine and nibble the cheese instead of gulping my wine and shoveling the cheese in. I can relate right now. I'm like, give me all this alcohol and cheese. This is the best webinar in the world.
Absolutely. Well, you know, and in my courses, all the homework is liquid, right? So it's all fun.
I literally cannot wait to buy your course. I'm not even thinking. I love your energy. I love how fun this is.
Thank you.
What a great topic.
Awesome. Awesome. So Amy, just let me know how we're doing for time. And I'm happy to also answer questions in the comments. As I said, the multitasking did not work for me. So I'm just going to keep going to the end of the slides. Okay, cool. Okay. Because I can see I can see the numbers of comments, which is very cool. I'm glad people are engaged, or they're just drinking and just saying whatever.
We're all drunk now and we're reading the comments.
I've achieved my goal. So quick tips for pairing. Consider 3 things, whether it's cheese or anything else: taste, texture, maturity. Maturity isn't us, but it would be the cheese or whatever. But so taste, have you got bold flavors in your glass and on your plate, or the cheese? Texture, is the wine mouth coating, or is it sort of zippy like a sparkling wine? Is the cheese mouth coating, or is it more fresh and gone with the swallow? And maturity, so boldness or mature complex flavors. All right, so cheese, why they work for gatherings, a little bit of holiday tips here. So we're very tribal. You know, it all started with communal fire pits in terms of how we ate back in the day, the ancient caveman woman days. A cheese plate is very tribal. And even now that we're in social distancing, we did have a gathering of just 2 other couples. We were permitted here where I am. But what I did is, instead of making 1 cheese plate, I made 3 mini cheese plates, and they had a little plastic container to take home. So nobody touched anybody else's stuff. Right. and I think I would continue with that even post-COVID, post-social distancing, because you know, they don't put their fingers in there, but you know, they're cutting and everything else. It made it more accessible. People just, you know, kind of sat around their cheese board. We were all at the kitchen island, and it really worked well. So think about that. Self-serve portions, less waste with cheese. High impact, low effort. I really like this, and it's hard to wreck cheese or wine. I don't cook. So, you know, I can't burn the cheese. I can't oversteep it or whatever, but I can pull corks and I can unwrap packages. So I just find, you know, there's no turning on the oven. It's such an easy way to entertain with wine and cheese. It's kind of why I love it too.
Who doesn't want to be best friends with Natalie? Like, I wish we lived next door, and I wish Jess wants to be your best friend, for the record. I wish we lived right next door to you.
Oh, well, recycling day is always fun. Get a little crowd clustered around them. Anyway, condiments. So I often get questions about that. What should be on the cheese board? So I say go for savory over sweet. Okay. And because cheese is savory, wine is savory. Sure, you can have some figs, fig jam or whatever, but I find what works are like your crackers, your brined stuff, like brined vegetables, olives, Meats, of course, charcuterie. If you're having crackers, kind of neutral, you can have flavors if you want, but if you want to really taste the cheese flavor, which I think should be the star of the board, then try not to overwhelm it with other things. I like putting, I don't get this specific, but I do like kind of one condiment per cheese. And the thing that, keep refreshing the palate. Oh yeah, the other condiments will keep you from satiating out on cheese itself if you have a little break. But I wanted to get to the point, nuts can be tricky for allergies, so separate them in little containers. Where is it? Dried fruit can have sulfates. This is it, grapes. Grapes are not great with wine. It is a cliche to put grapes on your board, and yet I see them all the time.
Talk to me about this.
We're not going to wine shame you because you didn't know any better, Amy. So, but now you do. So what happened? Grapes are sweet. Wine, just do that same test with wine. Take a sip of wine when you have a chance, eat a grape, go back to the wine, and look what happens to the taste of your wine. The rule with pairing wine and food, any wine and food, is that the wine should always be sweeter than the dessert or the sweet thing. Otherwise, the wine's going to taste really bitter by comparison. So we put these grapes on our boards. Decoration's great, but it's just going to kill your wine. And plus, it's an unimaginative cliche. I'm not wine shaming you. We all do it. So
this is what I love about you. I never feel shamed by you. You're so open. You just make me feel like I'm just learning.
Okay, cool. Because that's my goal. Because I still feel like an enthusiastic amateur. I'm still learning. There is so much about wine and cheese. But again, I find it exciting, not overwhelming. But there's always lots of stuff I don't know. So I always remember where I was. I remember when I went to my first wine tasting and everybody's like listening to this guy drone on at the head of the class. And, everybody's busy writing wine notes and I'm busy writing my grocery list thinking, what am I supposed to be writing? I don't know. Anyway, so I got my grocery list done. But so yeah, just some things to think about. Think about how all those flavors are working together. Grapes are fine. If you love grapes, again, it's not a hard and fast rule. Maybe it's beautiful as decoration. It's just think about now what you're tasting and how it's interacting with the wine. So wine, grape, wine, see what you think. Maybe a dessert wine, it'll work, but not so much on a lot of other wines.
Makes sense.
Cool. All right. Coming up to the end here. So choosing stylish boards for the holidays. Yes. I love a great board. I like getting creative with different materials, like this natural raw edge wood. You can buy these boards in a lot of places, but I just think they're beautiful. But I also tend to haunt flea markets and church sales for those old little saucers and little plates and things so that I can mix it up and just have all kinds of visual pop on for my cheese boards rather than just the traditional. This is kind of a neat idea. You can use a slate or even just like paper that you can write on with white chalk and label all of your cheeses. Amy, this is going to be what we do that's closest to getting you office supplies. So you could use sticky notes beside all your cheeses, or like with the slate stuff, I just love being able to write on slate and then erase it.
I have some of that downstairs. I need to do that. That's fun.
It is fun. Or just get paper, that will work too. And then people aren't as reticent to dive into, I don't know what that is, but if you tell them this is a brie or this is a blue cheese or whatever, if it's not obvious from looking at it, it encourages people to dive in there and try. So I just love the naturalness of slate and wood. Yeah, there's just so much you can do to get creative. Glass frames, like you can take old picture frames and make them into cheese boards, antique plates. That's where I haunt flea markets and yard sales. Adding seasonal touches because we're coming up for the holidays. So you can put little sprigs of like rosemary and thyme and herb, and you'll get this wonderful natural aroma in addition to the cheese and the wine. You feel like you're in wine forest heaven. It's It's a very heady kind of aroma. You can get gooseberries and cranberries are really festive. Again, it's that pop, that visual pop of color that's we eat with our eyes first. So that's what you're trying to do with a board. Little jams and jellies, or I like this one, little circular action going there. And you can add little seasonal touches. You can see the cranberry. I love self-serve. Yeah. And self-serve is really great because the other one, the other thing that I always think of, is that you want to, what I say, take one for the team. Always do the first cut of any cheese for your guests, because no one likes to be the first one to cut, or if it looks difficult, like prep things, make them self-serve little bites, or else, chip away and make sure you've got the cheeses.
That's a great point. I noticed if I don't cut it for them, no one touches it the whole night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've got
agree. Jess is really into this. She really wishes she had all of her wine.
That's great. And I've got tips on how to cut cheese and all the rest of it if we want to go there. But I was just going to, in respect for the time here, to wrap up, but I'd be happy to sort of, one thing I want to just say, because I was given permission, is that if anybody wants these slides, you can email me.
Cool.
And it wouldn't be a true DCA tasting, whatever this has been, without a lead magnet. So there you go. If anybody wants my wine and food pairing guide, you can get it at nataliemclean.com. Okay.
I have a question for you. I know we're going to go into Q&A, but so nataliemclean.com/Amy, you guys can get the ultimate guide to pairing wine and food. I will be getting it. Here's my thing. I want to be really good at this. I'm not a really great host. I feel very insecure when I'm hosting, but I would love to be able to put together an amazing charcuterie board and know what wine and know what champagne to choose and all of that. So first of all, yes, on that ultimate guide, I will be getting it. If I were to buy one of your courses, like if I was going to start with one, what is the course, someone like me that I love this, but I don't know enough to be a great host, where would I start?
You are so nice. Thank you. Well, you can start with,
I'm buying it. So tell me.
Well, Amy, I've also taken to heart what you say, and that is focus, 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 focus. So I have one course.
I didn't know that, but that's incredible. Okay. Tell us. I genuinely want you to tell us about it.
All right. So it's the, I can probably stop screen sharing. It is the wait a minute. How to taste, buy, and pair wine like a pro. It's called Get Wine Smart, how to taste, buy, pair wine like a pro. I should know my own course name, but yeah. So I'll find it on my website too, but it's taking you from start to finish on how to purchase wine, how to pair it, how to taste it with all kinds of different food, not just cheese. So cheese is in there. Yeah. But this is the sort of overview course of really how to get started in wine. And so I have people who are beginners up to like intermediates, like they've taken a couple of courses on wine, but maybe it didn't sink in. And honestly, I've used all your tips, like how to help them make it sink in from the workbooks and the different modes of learning and all the rest. You've taught me so much. So it's all there.
And you've been such a huge success with your courses. So I love that. Oh, hold on. You have questions. You have a lot of questions. Will you answer them?
Oh, of course. Of course I will. Yes. Okay. I'm glad there's interest.
I started this on an empty stomach. I feel a little tipsy. I'm very loud right now, which is a good indication, but I'm not drunk, so we're good. So Maureen says, best cheeses for a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
That's great. So Maureen, that's a great question. Sauvignon Blanc is so versatile because it's one of those zippy wines like sparkling wine, Pinot Grigio. They're all in that family of wines that will go with just about any cheese, up to maybe really stinky blue cheeses. Then they get overwhelmed and clobbered. But your goat, your brie, even your Havarti, all of those cheeses are really good. And that's why, I don't know if I got to this, but people often think red wine should be your go-to for cheeses. You often see that in either low budget gallery openings or really cheesy weddings. They've got the red wine and the cheese going on, and it's really terrible. Just, you wonder if the marriage is going to last as long as the wine will. Probably not. But anyway, but if you would go with a white wine, you will be safer, or not safer, but you'll have more pleasure.
Okay.
So your Sauvignon Blanc, your whites, your sparkling are going to serve you well for just about any cheeses except the most pungent.
Okay, good to know. Okay, Maria, I don't understand this question, but maybe Natalie will. She says, I'm an Asti girl. Is that the word?
Asti, a sparkling from Italy.
Oh,
Asti, yep.
You guys are so much more informed than I am. How does one learn to drink drier wines?
Okay, so if it's a taste preference, so first of all, we do too much wine shaming in our culture about people loving sweet wines, whether it's White Zinfandel or anything else. But in my course, we talk about what is your vino type, like what types of wines do you like and why? And the people who love sweet wines, it's proven scientifically, have more taste buds. You're not less sophisticated. You actually have greater sensitivity. And that's why you like the sweetness. Sweet was the first taste we learned as babies, right? Because we learned bitter will kill you, like if you're not careful out there and foraging. So if you want to learn to love drier wines, kind of go up the spectrum. So I would say Riesling is a great wine. It's a white wine from many regions. Germany is kind of the benchmark, but everybody produces it. The US, Canada. Start off, Riesling comes in a range of sweetness from dessert to just slightly what we call off dry, meaning there's just a touch of sweetness. And then you can keep going up to what we call bone dry. So what you want to look for, so you could try that spectrum, kind of grow your way up the Riesling scale. But if you're looking for dry wines in general in the liquor store, you want to look for sugar code, and it's either going to be a 0 or it's going to be like an XD, as in extra dry. So that's what you want to look for, but be gentle and it's a taste that you can acquire over time.
Maria, I'm with you. I love sweet wine. So I'm an Asti girl as well and didn't even know it. So that's fantastic. Cynthia says, I'm a Syrah lover. Cheese recommendations?
Syrah, nice big full-bodied red from France or Australia or California. Paso Robles makes amazing Syrah. So that's where you can get into your full-bodied, like your cheddars and beyond. Some Syrahs will even handle your stinky blues. I shouldn't say stinky blues. It's like I had to learn to love blues. At first it was like, oh, but I grew to love them. So Syrah is a great full body wine, but it's smooth, right? It's not that tannin like walnuts. So your harder cheeses, like your cheddars and so on, will be great with that Syrah.
Okay, good to know. Edgar says, Thanksgiving is coming up in the US. What type of wine pairs best with turkey?
All
Great
right.
question.
I love that. And so this is the annual talk I have to have every year,
Okay,
wines with turkey. And people get stressed out again about, oh my gosh, which wine? But you think about Thanksgiving and the way we kind of handle Thanksgiving. We have a lot of side dishes and people just sort of often serve themselves. I'll take the peas, maybe not, but I'll take the cranberry sauce. Why not do that with wine? Why not have a few different bottles out and let people experiment? And this is the time when you can experiment and learn more about your taste preferences. Because if you have a group, I know we're not in as large groups this year, but still, if you have your family, your bubble around, maybe it's time to just try some experimentation. But if we want to focus on the big bird, then turkey can be a dry meat, especially in our house if I have anything to do with it, which I don't anymore. Because I'm always healing like cooking mistakes with wine. It's like, it'll be fine. Have a more, have another glass. So fortunately, my partner now cooks. Thank God for him.
Good.
So with turkey, it is though, in general, as compared to chicken and other meats, drier. With a dry meat, you need something that's juicy. So what is juicy? Anything in wine that has acidity. Acidity is not anything to be afraid of in wine. It literally whets your appetite, gets the juices going. Acidity in wine is like salt is to food. It brings forward flavor. And so acidic wines, sparkling wine, Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc. If you're a red wine lover, Pinot Noir, Gamay, anything like that, not tannic, racy Riesling or acidity.
Okay. Good to know. I didn't even know that. So that's fantastic.
Cool.
Donna says, I'm not a red wine girl, but would like to find one to drink in the colder months. Any recommendations for a red wine that's more palatable for someone who really likes a Sauvignon Blanc?
Perfect. So what you want to look for in a red wine when you're transitioning or want to bridge is one that's not tannic, one that's not polarizing, high on alcohol, high on everything else. So I would go with the smooth, medium-bodied reds, Pinot Noir, Gamay, those turkey wines, those turkey reds. They're very juicy. My personal favorite is Pinot Noir because I find it's a hedonist wine. It's got all the flavor of red wine, but none of the heavy oak, tannin, and alcohol that will have you asleep on the sofa at 7. So it's a wine that you can enjoy over an evening and conversation and remember what you talked about the next morning.
So Pinot Noir, that's what you would suggest.
Pinot Noir or Gamay is another grape. So
that one. Okay.
Yeah.
This is good to know. Okay. Haley says, what are your thoughts on going with organic wine over non-organic? Is organic superior?
I love all these questions. Who knew that your group
Who
was so...
knew? I thought you only loved marketing. You wild, crazy gals and guys. This is so fun.
I know. I found my people
Right?
in 2 ways. Okay. So organic wine is not more healthful for you, but it is better for the environment and is better for the health of the people who work at those wineries. They're not exposed to pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. So it's a good thing to do. Beyond that, organic, it doesn't guarantee you a better wine, but I do think that it speaks to a winemaking philosophy that says we're paying attention to this land, to nature, to the people who work here. And I try to buy organic whenever I can. In the 70s, organic had a really nasty reputation, tie-dyed shirts and ponytails and wines that did not last and were just, but now organic wine is the fastest growing category in the liquor store because people are trying to be more healthful. Organic wines aren't necessarily more healthy for you. They will not save you from a hangover, but they do make a statement about your approach as a wine buyer and the winemaker's approach as a winemaker.
Good to know. I would have not guessed you'd say that. So that's great to know. Roy says, why are some wines more expensive than others? What makes it so expensive?
Wow, I love these questions. Okay, so there's probably 75 or more steps in winemaking. I won't go over them right now, but every step of the process adds adds to the price. So up to a certain point, wine is cost-based. So how much did your vineyard land cost? How much taxes are you paying on it? Did you use expensive French barrels to age it? Did you harvest the grapes so that you did away with a lot of the grapes so that the remaining grapes would be so concentrated and flavorful that you made better wine? There's a myriad of winemaking decisions that will contribute to cost. But beyond cost, wine is one of those things where, I can't think of a consumer product that's like this, but you can get a bottle of wine for $3 or $300,000.
Right.
And, it's crazy. Like if you look at auctions, rarefied old wines, once you get past the cost, what you're dealing with is rarity, badge drinking, trophy wines, all the rest of it, the intangibles that people will pay a lot for. It's brand recognition, all of that. So that's a partial explanation. There are cost factors of what you decided as inputs for your winemaking process. And then there's all the intangibles that can drive the price crazy, way up.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Do you find yourself being a wine expert? Do you find yourself buying expensive wine more regularly than, let's say, the cheaper stuff?
No, the opposite, Amy, but thank you for asking.
Really?
So yes, think about it like this. I don't know what it'd be like to be working in haute couture, but It's like going to a warehouse, an outlet store, and finding a Versace jacket that's on for 10% of the original cost.
So good.
The thrill is in the hunt. So
Yes.
if I can find a wine that tastes like 30 and costs 10 or 15, to me, that's what makes me happy. Like, I just think, it's dumb money who pays too much.
And this is why you're so relatable, because all of us, most of us, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm like, yeah, that's my kind of girl. I like that. Finding a good deal.
No one likes to overpay for anything. And I never think that you should pay more for pleasure than you have to in all spheres of life. So why not try to find those underappreciated regions and wines? Like in the course, I say go south. So if you look at most winemaking countries, Bordeaux is in the north. What's in the south? Languedoc, much cheaper. Tuscany in the north. What's south? Sicily, much cheaper. Napa Valley and Sonoma in the north. What's cheaper? Paso Robles. So, just little tips like that, you can start to see where are the bargains, and you don't have to give up on great taste.
So fantastic. Okay, last question, and then I have my question of my own. Okay. Wine gives me a headache, but I love it so much. Are there wines that are better for avoiding a headache?
Yeah, it does. It depends on, does it tend to be red wine or white wine giving you the headache? With white wines, it tends to be sulfites, but that's a much smaller issue than many people think it is. Only less than 5% of the population is allergic to sulfites. There are more sulfites in a glass of orange juice than there is an entire bottle of wine. So sulfites get a bad rap unnecessarily, but it could be that. More often, it's the red wines that give people headaches because there are tannins, more tannins, histamines, polyphenols from the grapes, the skins, all kinds of other things going on there. And so you want to figure out first, is it one type or the other? Is it red or is it white? Okay. Is it one region or another? Is it one grape or another? And just sort of experiment. You will know your own body over time, see what's happening. With those red wines, if it is that, look for unoaked, lighter styles like your Pinot and your Gamay, which can taste great, but might not trigger all those histamines and tannin headaches.
Okay, good to know. Okay, I'm going to get a little nerdy and ask you a course creation question to wrap it up. Okay.
Okay, sure.
You sell desire. You sell, what do you call it? Do you call it desire?
Pleasure, desire and pleasure. Yes.
You sell pleasure. And that's different than a lot of what my students sell, but there's some people on right now that they sell pleasure as well. Yeah. Or something similar. They don't teach people how to make money or how to build businesses like I do. What have you learned along the way of selling a digital course that is selling pleasure?
I love this. So I had to struggle with this because when I took your course, it was like, well, that looks straightforward, because if I could say, you're going to earn $5,000 by taking my course, it's not going to happen here. But what I do get at is, what is your why? So why are you working so hard at whatever job you work at, whether it's as a course creator, as a lawyer, as a whatever you do? What is it? I think it's about living a full, satisfying, enjoyable life. And what's the price or the cost of that if you are not enjoying your full life? Wine and food, to me, is one of those things that makes life worthwhile, especially in moderation, because one of my big whys is that my father was an alcoholic. And so I love teaching people also that you can have so much pleasure without going overboard, but also this pleasure that I think is the reason we work so hard, so that we can reward ourselves. I mean, do other things, take care of our family, be in our community and so on. But we can't skip our own personal pleasure, because otherwise it's like, all you're doing is grinding away. And what's the point of that? Right. So that's what, like when I do the webinar and that sort of thing, I try to get at that with people and try to help them think of what is it I'm doing? And I have to convince people you're worth it. You need to take time for you. You need to spend money on you. You're worth it. You work hard. You take care of your family and all the rest of it. But how about you? When do you think about you? When do you take time for you? And what's that worth?
Fantastic. I'm so glad you shared that because you have had huge success over the last few years. I love to talk about you. I love to brag about you on the web and on my podcast. So when you offered to do this, we were like, heck yeah, let's do it. So much fun. I will be your next buyer for sure. And
Thanks,
tell
Amy.
everyone again, where do they find the ultimate guide and where do they go to buy your course?
So it's, I'll just pop it on the screen here. They can get the slides too if they want them, but they can get the ultimate guide at nataliemclean.com/Amy. And if they want to take a webinar with me, it's the same URL, but it's class. So it's nataliemclean.com/class.
Perfect.
And yeah, they can find it all there, or just ping me in the Facebook group, whatever. And if you have more questions or questions I did not answer today, I'm happy to keep going on wine questions. I cannot believe how much this is my tribe.
Right? These people love you. And you're just for the record, you're getting so many nice comments. So I wish you could see them all, but I know you're focused on your presentation, but everyone loves you. They've absolutely loved this presentation. And so many people have stayed on. So I just want to let you know, they didn't drop off when we turned into wine and cheese pairing. And you're not only a great example of someone who has taught us something new and so beautiful, but also you're a course creator. You're in the trenches with us. You're part of Momentum. I am so honored to have you part of our community. So thank you so very much. I absolutely love your energy. Natalie, thank you for being a part of Momentum.
Oh, Amy, thank you. I mean, I'm sure this is just comes from everybody who touches you or is in your sphere, your orbit, but I just wouldn't be doing this now. I'd be grinding away on more wine reviews and live tastings and everything else. It's just, this has changed my world. It's got me to where I want to be. And it truly is. It is because of you. Like, you open my eyes to what is possible. And it really, really has changed my life. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for saying that, but you are truly one of the superstars and we talk about you all the time at Team Porterfield. So we love you dearly. And thank you again, Natalie. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Amy. All right. Take care. Right. Cheers.
Take care. Cheers. Cheers to you. Cheers.
All right.
And thank you everybody for being here. We are so very honored to have you part of the community and I can't wait to see you in Momentum. So cheers to everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.